Chapter 1. The bracelet I should have called in sick that night. The moment I tied my apron around my waist and felt the cold metal of the bracelet shift against my wrist, something in my gut twisted. A warning I didn't know how to read. But I needed the money. Rent was due in 3 days, and my landlord had stopped accepting excuses 2 months ago. So I ignored the feeling, tucked a strand of dark hair behind my ear, and pushed through the kitchen doors into the dim amber light of Valentino's. The restaurant was one of those places that looked expensive but felt dangerous. All black marble and burgundy leather, with chandeliers that cast shadows instead of light. The kind of place where men in tailored suits spoke in low voices, and the waitstaff knew better than to linger too long at any table. I'd been working there for 6 weeks, long enough to know which customers tipped well and which ones looked at you like you were part of the menu. Not long enough to recognize the man in the corner booth before it was too late. "Table 12 needs water?" Marcus, the floor manager, muttered as I passed. "And for God's sake, Sarah, smile. You look like you're serving at a funeral." I forced my lips into something resembling pleasantness and grabbed a pitcher from the bar. Table 12 was in the back corner, half hidden behind a marble column. Private. The kind of spot reserved for people who didn't want to be seen. 3 men sat there, but my eyes caught on only one. He was leaning back against the leather booth, one arm draped casually along the seat back, the other resting on the table. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone, sharp jaw, cruel mouth, and eyes so dark they looked black in the low light. He wore a suit that probably cost more than my car, and he radiated the kind of power that made the air feel thinner, dangerous. The word whispered through my mind like smoke. I approached the table with my eyes down, the way I'd learned to do with men like this, men who notice too much. "Good evening, gentlemen. Can I get you?" His hand shot out and caught my wrist. Not roughly, but firmly enough that the pitcher tilted in my grip, water sloshing against the rim. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to pull away, but his fingers were an iron band around my wrist, warm and unyielding. Slowly, I lifted my eyes to his face. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my wrist, at the bracelet. It was nothing special, just a thin silver chain with a small charm, a half moon etched with delicate stars. I'd worn it every day since I found it tucked into my coat pocket 3 weeks ago. No note. No explanation. Just the bracelet, appearing like a ghost. "Where did you get this?" His voice was low, rough, like gravel wrapped in silk. I don't know. It was just given to me." "By who?" "I don't know. It was anonymous." His grip tightened, not enough to hurt, but enough to send my pulse hammering against my throat. The 2 men with him had gone completely still, their eyes fixed on me with the focus of predators. "Where is the other one?" he asked. The question hit me like cold water. "What?" He turned my wrist over, his thumb brushing against the charm. The touch was strangely intimate, and I hated the way my skin burned where he held me. "This bracelet?" he said slowly, each word deliberate. "It's one of a pair. Where is the other one?" "I don't know what you're talking about." His eyes finally lifted to mine, and the full weight of his gaze nearly made me step back. Dark. Infinite. Absolutely merciless. "You're wearing my sister's bracelet," he said softly. "The one she was wearing the night she disappeared." The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. I've never met your sister. I don't even know who you are." Something flickered in his expression. Not softness, but something close to it. Something that looked almost like pain before it vanished behind cold stone. "My name is Dante Moretti." He released my wrist and sat back, studying me with the intensity of a man trying to solve a puzzle. "And if you're wearing that bracelet, little waitress, then you're involved in something far more dangerous than you realize." Moretti. The name detonated in my mind like a bomb. Everyone in this city knew the Moretti family. They owned half the businesses, controlled the docks, and had their fingers in everything from construction to politics. They were the kind of people you didn't talk about, the kind of people who made other people disappear, and I was wearing his missing sister's bracelet. "I swear, I don't know anything about your sister." My voice came out steadier than I felt. The bracelet just appeared in my pocket. I thought maybe someone left it as a tip, or someone is sending me a message. Dante leaned forward, his elbows on the table, his eyes never leaving mine. "And they're using you to deliver it. Then take the bracelet back. I don't want any part of this." I reached for the clasp, but his hand covered mine, stopping me. Too late for that, sweetheart. His lips curved into something that might have been a smile if it had contained any warmth. You're already part of it. The moment you put that on, you became a player in a very dangerous game. I didn't ask to be part of anything. Neither did my sister. His voice dropped, cold enough to frost glass. But that didn't save her. One of the men beside him shifted, murmuring something in Italian. Dante responded without breaking eye contact with me, his tone sharp and commanding. Then he stood, unfolding to his full height easily 6'2", broad-shouldered and radiating a leashed violence that made my throat tight. You're coming with me, he said. It wasn't a question. Like hell I am. Option 1, you walk out of here with me. We have a conversation, and I figure out who's playing games with my family. Option 2, he stepped closer, close enough that I could smell expensive, cologne and something darker underneath gunpowder maybe, or just danger. I have my men tear this place apart looking for answers, and you lose your job when they find whatever they're going to find. Your choice. My hands clenched into fists. That's not a choice. No, he agreed, his dark eyes boring into mine. It's not. Behind him, I saw Marcus hovering near the bar, his face pale, clearly debating whether to intervene. One look at Dante Moretti and Marcus turned away. No one was coming to help me. Dante held out his hand, palm up, a mockery of a gentleman's gesture. Shall we, miss? Sarah, I whispered. Sarah Castellano. His expression shifted just for a second. Something sharp and calculating flickered across his features. Then it was gone. Sarah Castellano, he repeated softly, like he was tasting my name. I think you and I are going to have a very interesting conversation. He started toward the door, and his men moved with him, a synchronized unit of lethal grace. I should have run, should have screamed, should have done anything except what I did, but I followed him, because somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew, running would only make things worse, and Dante Moretti didn't look like a man who forgot faces. Or forgave them. Chapter 2, Into the Dark. The October air hit me like a slap as we stepped outside, cold enough to make me wish I'd grabbed my jacket from my locker. But there was no going back now, not with Dante Moretti's hand pressed against the small of my back, guiding me toward a black SUV that looked like it could survive a military assault. One of his men opened the back door, and Dante gestured for me to get in. I hesitated, every self-preservation instinct I had, screaming at me to run. This was insane. I was getting into a car with a man whose family was synonymous with violence, heading God knows where, because of a bracelet I'd found in my pocket. I can see you thinking about running, Dante said quietly, leaning close, enough that his breath stirred my hair. Don't. You wouldn't make it 3 blocks. Is that a threat? It's a fact. His eyes found mine in the darkness. And a warning. Whoever put that bracelet in your pocket knows where you work, which means they know where you live. You're safer with me than you are running blind through the city. The logic was twisted, but I couldn't argue with it. Someone had targeted me specifically, and I had no idea why. I climbed into the SUV. Dante slid in beside me, close enough that his thigh pressed against mine in the confined space. The door shut with a heavy thunk that sounded too much like a prison cell locking. The 2 men from the restaurant got into the front seats, and the engine purred to life. Where are we going? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. Somewhere we can talk without interruption. That could mean anything. A warehouse. A back alley. The bottom of the harbor. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly aware of how thin my work blouse was, how vulnerable I felt sitting next to this man who radiated controlled violence like heat. Dante shrugged out of his suit jacket and draped it over my shoulders without a word. The gesture surprised me. The jacket was warm, expensive, and smelled like him cedar and something darker, more primal. I wanted to shrug it off out of pride, but I was too cold, too scared. Thank you, I whispered. He didn't respond, just stared out the window as the city lights blurred past. We drove for 20 minutes, leaving the restaurant district behind and heading into an area I didn't recognize. Upscale. The buildings here were old-money converted brownstones and gated estates that spoke of wealth so old it didn't need to announce itself. Finally, we pulled up to a wrought iron gate flanked by stone pillars. The gate opened automatically, and we drove up a curved driveway lined with trees that had probably been planted before I was born. The house, no. The mansion loomed. Ahead, all dark stone and tall windows that gleamed like watchful eyes. "This is your home?" I asked. One of them. Of course it was. The SUV stopped in front of massive double doors, and Dante's men got out first, scanning the area with the efficiency of trained soldiers. Only when they gave a subtle nod did Dante open his door and offer me his hand. I ignored it and climbed out on my own, immediately regretting it when my ankle wobbled on the cobblestones. His hand shot out, steadying me, his grip firm on my elbow. "Stubborn," he muttered. "Careful," I shot back. His lips twitched. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was close. "Come on." Inside, the mansion was exactly what I expected. All dark wood and expensive art, with the kind of silence that only came from thick walls and secrets. A woman in her 50s appeared from a side hallway, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. "Mr. Moretti, you didn't mention you'd have a guest." "It wasn't planned, Rosa. Have coffee sent to my study. And something to eat. She hasn't had dinner." How did he know that? Rosa's eyes swept over me with the assessing gaze of someone who'd seen everything and judged most of it. Whatever she saw made her nod. "Of course, sir." Dante led me down a hallway lined with family portraits, generations of Morettis staring down at us with the same dark eyes, the same sharp features. At the end of the hall, he opened a door and ushered me into a study that was all leather and books and the lingering scent of cigars. He closed the door behind us, and suddenly the space felt too small, too intimate. "Sit," he said, gesturing to one of the leather chairs facing a massive mahogany desk. I sat, perching on the edge of the chair, ready to bolt. Dante moved to a sideboard and poured 2 glasses of amber liquid from a crystal decanter. "I don't drink," I said when he offered me one. "You will tonight." He pressed the glass into my hand. "Trust me, you're going to need it." I took a small sip. Whiskey, expensive and smooth, burning down my throat and settling warm in my stomach. Dante leaned against his desk, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. He'd rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars, evidence of a life that wasn't spent behind desks. "Tell me everything," he said, "from the moment you found the bracelet to right now. Every detail." "There's nothing to tell. 3 weeks ago I finished my shift and found it in my coat pocket. I thought maybe another waitress borrowed my coat and left it by accident. When no one claimed it, I kept it. No note? No message? Nothing. And before that, anyone unusual watching you? Following you?" I thought back, sorting through the blur of exhausting double shifts and late nights. Wait. A memory surfaced, cold and unwelcome. About a month ago, there was a man. He sat in my section 3 nights in a row but never ordered more than coffee. Just watched. I thought he was lonely or maybe interested, but then he stopped coming. Dante's expression darkened. "Describe him." "Older, maybe 50s. Salt and pepper hair, expensive clothes. He had a scar here." I traced a line along my left cheekbone. "And he always wore leather gloves, even though it wasn't cold yet." Something dangerous flashed in Dante's eyes. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through it, then turned the screen toward me. "This him?" The photograph showed the man from the restaurant, sitting at what looked like a cafe. Same scar. Same cold eyes. "Yes. Who is he?" "Viktor Kozlov. He works for the Volkov family." Dante's voice had gone cold. Lethal. "They're our rivals. Have been for 30 years. My blood turned to ice. Your sister. Did they?" "We don't know. Isabella disappeared 6 months ago after leaving a charity gala. Her car was found abandoned near the docks. No body. No ransom demand. Just gone." His jaw clenched. "She was wearing those bracelets. A matched set I'd given her for her birthday. She never took them off." "I'm sorry," I whispered, the words inadequate but all I had. "Sorry doesn't bring her back." He drained his whiskey in one swallow. "But you might." "What do you mean?" "Kozlov doesn't do anything without orders. If he was watching you, if he planted that bracelet on you, then someone wants me to find you, which means you're either bait." His eyes locked onto mine, dark and searching. "Or you're the key to finding my sister." The door opened, and Rosa entered with a tray. Coffee, sandwiches, and fruit. She set it on the desk and left without a word, though her eyes lingered on me with something that looked almost like pity. "Eat," Dante commanded. "I'm not hungry." "Eat anyway. You're going to be here a while." The reality of my situation crashed over me. "I have work tomorrow. My rent is due. I can't just—" "Your rent will be paid. Your manager will be told you're taking a leave of absence for family reasons. He poured himself more whiskey. You're under my protection now, Sarah. Which means your old life just went on hold. You can't just decide that. I already have. He moved closer, and I forced myself not to shrink back. Someone is playing games with my family, and they put you in the middle of it. That makes you mine to protect, mine to keep safe. His hand came up, fingers brushing the bracelet on my wrist with surprising gentleness. And mine to use, if it means finding Isabella. The touch sent electricity racing up my arm, and I hated myself for it. So I'm a prisoner. You're a guest. His thumb traced the silver charm. But if you try to leave before I have answers, yes, you'll find this house has very effective security. This is kidnapping. This is survival. His eyes met mine, and for just a moment, I saw past the cold exterior to the grief beneath. Raw, desperate, human. Someone took my sister. Someone wants me to find you. I don't believe in coincidences, Sarah. Castellano. And I don't lose. A phone buzzed. Dante pulled it from his pocket, read the message, and his entire demeanor shifted. When he looked at me again, something lethal had entered his expression. What? I whispered. Kozlov was found dead an hour ago. Shot execution style in his apartment. My mouth went dry. That means whoever is behind this just eliminated their messenger. Dante's hand cupped my chin, tilting my face up to his. And you, little waitress, just became the only lead I have. His touch was warm, firm, possessive, and despite everything, the fear, the danger, the insanity of this situation, my body responded with a heat I didn't want to acknowledge. I don't know anything, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Then I guess you're staying until you remember something useful. He released me and stepped back. Rosa will show you to a guest room. Don't try to leave. Don't try to contact anyone. And don't take off that bracelet. Why not? His smile was sharp as a blade. Because it's the only thing keeping you alive. Chapter 3. Dangerous proximity. I didn't sleep. How could I, in a stranger's mansion, wearing a dead woman's bracelet, while a murdered man's ghost seemed to hover in every shadow? The guest room Rosa had shown me to was beautiful, all cream silk and soft lighting, but it felt like a gilded cage. I spent the night curled in a chair by the window, watching the grounds below. Men patrolled in pairs, their movements synchronized and purposeful. Dante Moretti's army, guarding his fortress, guarding me. When dawn finally broke, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, I heard footsteps in the hallway. A soft knock, then Rosa's voice. Mr. Moretti requests your presence for breakfast, miss. Requests. As if I had a choice. I'd slept in my work clothes, and I felt grimy and rumpled as I followed Rosa down a different hallway than the night before. The house was a labyrinth, all connected wings and hidden passages. Easy to get lost in, impossible to escape from. She led me to a sunroom overlooking manicured gardens. Dante sat at a wrought iron table, reading a newspaper, a cup of espresso at his elbow. He'd changed into dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and somehow he looked more dangerous in the morning light than he had in the shadows. He glanced up as I entered, his dark eyes sweeping over me in assessment. You didn't sleep. Can you blame me? No. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. Eat something. The table was laden with food, fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, bacon. My stomach growled traitorously, reminding me I hadn't eaten since lunch yesterday. I sat and reached for a croissant, too hungry to maintain my pride. Dante watched me eat with an intensity that made every bite feel intimate. Finally, he set down his newspaper and leaned back in his chair. I had my people pull your background last night, he said casually, as if invading my privacy was nothing. Sarah Marie Castellano, 26. Orphaned at 19 when your parents died in a car accident. You dropped out of nursing school to pay for the funeral. Worked 3 jobs for 2 years before settling at Valentino's 6 weeks ago. No criminal record. No connections to organized crime. No reason for the Volkovs to target you. Heat flooded my cheeks. You had no right. I had every right. You're in my home, wearing my sister's bracelet, and connected to a dead man. His voice was steel wrapped in silk. I needed to know who you are. I could have told you all of that. People lie. He picked up his espresso, his eyes never leaving mine. Backgrounds don't. I set down the croissant, my appetite gone. Did your investigation tell you I'm nobody? That I have nothing to do with your sister or your enemies or any of this? It told me you're innocent. It didn't tell me why someone chose you." He stood, moving around the table with the fluid grace of a predator. "That's what we need to figure out." "We? You're involved now, Sarah. Whether you like it or not." He stopped beside my chair, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. "I'm going to find out who took Isabella, and you're going to help me." "I don't know how. Then we'll figure it out together." His hand came to rest on the back of my chair, caging me in without touching me. "Starting with your parents' accident." My blood turned cold. "What about it? Tell me what happened." The memories rose like bile in my throat. It was raining. Their car went off a bridge on Route 17. The police said my father fell asleep at the wheel. Did you believe them? I'd never questioned it before. Never had a reason to. But now, with Dante's dark eyes boring into mine, doubt crept in like poison. Why wouldn't I? Because convenient accidents are a favorite tool of families like mine. He crouched beside my chair, bringing himself to eye level. "Think, Sarah. Was there anything unusual before they died? Any strange people around your house? Your father acting worried?" I closed my eyes, forcing myself back to those last weeks. My father had been distracted, I remembered, coming home late, taking phone calls in his study with the door closed. My mother had seemed anxious, and they'd argued more than usual. My father. I opened my eyes, finding Dante's face inches from mine. He was an accountant, small firm, nothing special. But about a month before the accident, he started working late. My mother thought he was having an affair. Was he? No. At least, I don't think so. I struggled to remember details I'd buried years ago. The night before they died, I heard them arguing. My mother was crying, saying something about him needing to go to the police. He said it was too dangerous, that he needed to be sure first. Dante's expression sharpened. "Sure about what?" "I don't know. I was in my room studying for exams. I didn't ask." Guilt twisted in my chest. The next day, they were gone. "Castellano," Dante murmured, almost to himself. He pulled out his phone and typed something, then cursed softly in Italian. "Your father was Marco Castellano?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because 7 years ago, Marco Castellano's accounting firm did work for a shipping company the Volkov family used to launder money." He stood, pacing now, his mind clearly racing. If your father found something, if he was planning to expose them. The world tilted beneath me. "You're saying they killed my parents? Because of money laundering?" "I'm saying it's possible." He turned to face me, and something in his expression had softened. Not quite sympathy, but close. "I'm saying you might have been connected to all of this long before you found that bracelet." I couldn't breathe. 7 years. 7 years I'd mourned my parents, believed their deaths were a tragic accident, struggled to survive on my own. And all this time, someone might have murdered them. "I need air," I gasped, standing so quickly the chair nearly tipped. Dante caught my arm, steadying me. "Sarah, don't." I pulled away from his touch, from the heat of it, from the comfort I didn't want to feel. "Just give me a minute." I stumbled toward the French doors leading to the garden, desperate to escape the sunroom, the revelations, him. But his voice stopped me. "If I'm right," he said quietly, "then someone has been watching you for 7 years, waiting, and now they've made their move." I turned back to him, wrapping my arms around myself. "Why now? Why wait so long?" "Because something changed." He moved closer, drawn to me like gravity. "Isabella disappeared 6 months ago. The Volkovs have been quiet since then, too quiet. And now, suddenly, you appear with her bracelet. It's a message, Sarah. They're telling me they have her. And they're using you to make sure I'm paying attention. Then let me go. I'll disappear and you can't disappear from people like this." He was in front of me now, his hands gripping my shoulders. "They'll find you, they'll use you, and they'll kill you when you're no longer useful. So, what am I supposed to do? Stay here forever? Be your prisoner? Be my protected witness." His thumbs stroked along my collarbones, a touch that was both soothing and electrifying. "Stay here where I can keep you safe while we figure out what they want. Help me find Isabella, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get justice for your parents too." The offer was tempting, terrifying, impossible. But as I looked into his dark eyes, I saw something I hadn't expected. Sincerity. He meant it. Every word. "I don't trust you," I whispered. "Good. You shouldn't." His hand slid down my arms, his touch leaving fire in its wake. "But trust this. I protect what's mine. And right now, whether you like it or not, you're mine to protect. I'm not yours. Aren't you?" His hand came up, fingers tracing the bracelet on my wrist. "You're wearing my sister's jewelry, living in my house, under my protection. Tell me, Sarah, if you're not mine, whose are you?" The question hung between us, charged and dangerous, and I hated that I didn't have an answer. A sharp knock shattered the moment. One of Dante's men appeared in the doorway, his expression grim. "Boss, we have a problem. There's a package at the gate." Dante's entire demeanor shifted, the almost tender man vanishing behind the cold Mafia boss. "What kind of package?" "The kind that's addressed to her." The man's eyes flicked to me. "Miss Castellano, by name." The blood drained from my face. Dante's hand found mine, his grip tight and possessive. "Show me." We followed his man through the house, my heart hammering against my ribs. At the front entrance, more men had gathered, all of them armed, all of them focused on a small box sitting on the stone steps beyond the open doors. It was wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine. My name was written across the top in elegant script. "Nobody touch it," Dante ordered. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "I need a bomb unit at my residence. Now." "Bomb." The word echoed in my skull. "Maybe it's nothing," I said weakly. Dante's hand tightened on mine. "People who send innocent packages don't know where you are, Sarah. This is a message. The question is what it says." We waited. 10 agonizing minutes while men in tactical gear arrived and carefully examined the package with equipment I didn't understand. Finally, one of them gave a nod. "It's clean, Mr. Moretti. No explosives. Open it." The man cut the twine and unwrapped the paper. Inside was a white box, the kind jewelry came in. He opened the lid, and even from several feet away, I saw what was inside. A bracelet, silver, delicate, identical to the one on my wrist, except this one was stained dark with something that looked sickeningly like dried blood, and attached to it was a note. Dante took it, read it, and his face went absolutely deadly. "What does it say?" I whispered. He handed it to me, and I read the words written in that same elegant script. "One bracelet for the girl who wears the past. One bracelet for the sister you'll never find. Come alone to warehouse 12 at midnight, or we'll send you pieces of both." My hands shook so badly the paper fluttered. "They have her," I breathed. "Isabella. She's alive." "Maybe." Dante's voice was arctic. "Or this is a trap to draw me out. You have to go." His eyes snapped to mine, blazing with something fierce and possessive. "We have to go. They want you there, Sarah. That's what this means." "No, absolutely not. They know where you are. They're escalating. And if I don't bring you—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. They'd come for me themselves. Chapter 4. The Warehouse. The hours until midnight crawled by like years. Dante had disappeared into his study with half a dozen men, their voices rising and falling in heated Italian that I couldn't understand. Planning, strategizing, preparing for whatever waited for us in Warehouse 12. Rosa brought me lunch, then dinner, both of which I barely touched. She didn't speak, but her eyes held a sadness that made my chest tight. She'd watched Dante lose his sister. Now she was watching him walk into a trap to find her. At 9 o'clock, there was a knock on my door. "Come in," I called, expecting Rosa. Instead, Dante entered, carrying a black garment bag. He looked different, harder somehow. He'd changed into all black tactical gear, the kind that whispered of violence and efficiency. A gun was holstered at his hip. The sight of it made everything horrifyingly real. "You need to change," he said, laying the bag on the bed. "Jeans, boots, dark jacket, nothing restrictive." I unzipped the bag. Inside were clothes in exactly my size. Of course they were. He'd probably had someone buy out half a store while I'd been locked in this room. "Turn around," I said. Something flickered in his eyes, amusement, maybe, or challenge. "I've seen women undress before. You haven't seen me." "Not yet." But he turned, giving me his back. I changed quickly, hyper-aware of his presence in the room. The jeans fit perfectly, as did the black thermal shirt and leather jacket. The boots were broken in, comfortable. Whoever had selected them knew what they were doing. Done, I said. Dante turned, his gaze traveling over me in a slow assessment that made heat pool low in my belly. Good. Now come here. I approached warily. He reached behind him and pulled out a small holster, then lifted my jacket and secured it against my ribs, his knuckles brushing my skin through the thin shirt. The touch was clinical, professional, but my body didn't seem to understand that. What are you doing? I asked breathlessly. Giving you a fighting chance. He produced a small handgun, checked it with practiced efficiency, then slid it into the holster. It's a Glock 43, 9mm. Easy to handle. Safety's here. Trigger pull is smooth. I don't know how to use a gun. Point and shoot. That's all you need to know. His hands lingered on my waist, his eyes boring into mine. But you don't fire unless I'm dead, understand? You stay behind me. You do exactly what I say. And if I tell you to run, you run. I'm not leaving you. You will if I order it. His grip tightened. This isn't a negotiation, Sarah. These people are dangerous. They've already killed Kozlov, probably killed your parents, and they have my sister. I won't let them have you too. The raw emotion in his voice caught me off guard. This wasn't the cold Mafia boss. This was a man terrified of losing someone else. Okay, I whispered. I'll do what you say. Good girl. The praise sent an unwelcome shiver through me. He stepped back, his mask sliding into place again. Let's go. The drive to the warehouse district was tense and silent. Dante sat beside me in the back of an armored SUV, 3 more vehicles following behind us. An army going to war. How many men do you have? I asked. Enough. He was checking his weapons, a larger pistol, a knife strapped to his ankle, something that looked like a small radio. But I'm going in with just 2. Any more, and they'll know it's not compliance. That's suicide. That's strategy. His eyes met mine in the darkness. The others will be positioned around the perimeter. If things go wrong, they'll extract us. If we're still alive to extract, I thought but didn't say. We pulled up 2 blocks from Warehouse 12, and everyone got out. Dante issued orders in rapid Italian, and his men dispersed like shadows into the night. Only 2 remained, the ones from the restaurant, whose names I still didn't know. Marco, take point. Luca, rear guard. Stay 20 feet back unless I signal. Dante turned to me. Stay close to me. Hand on my jacket. Don't let go. I nodded, my throat too tight for words. We moved through the darkness, 3 men and a terrified waitress, toward a building that loomed like a tombstone against the night sky. Warehouse 12 was old, abandoned, with broken windows that gaped like empty eye sockets. The perfect place for an ambush. Dante's hand found mine, squeezing once. Whatever happens, I won't let them take you. Before I could respond, he released me and pushed open a rusted metal door. Inside, the warehouse was cavernous and dark, illuminated only by moonlight streaming through the broken roof. Our footsteps echoed on concrete as we moved deeper into the space. That's far enough, Moretti. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, amplified by speakers I couldn't see. Dante stopped, and I pressed against his back, my hand fisting in his jacket. Show yourself, Alexei, Dante called out. Or are you too much of a coward? A spotlight blazed to life, blinding us. I squeezed my eyes shut, and when I opened them, figures were emerging from the shadows. 6 men, all armed, all wearing the same dead-eyed expression of professional killers. And in the center, a man who could only be Alexei Volkov. He was older than Dante, maybe 45, with silver threading through his dark hair and a scar that bisected his left eyebrow. He wore an expensive suit and smiled like a shark. Dante, so good of you to accept my invitation. His accent was thick Russian. And you brought the girl. How obedient. Where's my sister? Dante's voice was lethal, controlled. Straight to business. No small talk. This is why I respect you, Moretti. You don't waste time. Alexei gestured, and 2 more men appeared, dragging something between them. Someone. My heart stopped. The woman was barely conscious, her dark hair matted with blood, her clothes torn. But even in the harsh spotlight, I could see the resemblance to Dante, same sharp features, same dark eyes. Isabella. Dante went rigid beside me, every muscle coiled like a spring. Let her go, Alexei. Now. Before this becomes a war neither of our families can afford. A war? Alexei laughed. There's already a war, Dante. Has been for 30 years. Your father started it when he killed my brother. Did you think we'd forget? My father's sins aren't mine. But you inherited his empire, his power, his enemies. Alexei moved closer, his men moving with him. And now you'll pay his debts. What do you want? Everything. Alexei's smile widened. Your territory, your businesses, your complete surrender. Sign over half your operations to me, and I'll give you back your sister. Refuse, and I'll put a bullet in her head right now. And then in your pretty little waitress. The gun at my ribs suddenly felt very heavy. You know I can't do that, Dante said carefully. The other families would never accept it. They'd go to war. Then war it is. Alexei pulled out a gun, pressed it to Isabella's temple. Wait! The word burst from me before I could stop it. Please, don't hurt her. Alexei's attention shifted to me, his eyes crawling over me like insects. Ah, the girl speaks. Tell me, little one, what is your life worth? What is his sister's life worth? Whatever you want, I said desperately. Just don't, Sarah, shut up, Dante growled. But Alexei was interested now, moving toward us, his gun still trained on Isabella. You know, when I first learned about you, I couldn't understand the connection. Marco Castellano's daughter? What did she have to do with anything? But then I realized you were the perfect leverage, the perfect bait. My father found out about your money laundering, I said, pieces clicking together. That's why you killed him. Smart girl. Yes, Marco found records he shouldn't have, threatened to expose us, so we eliminated the problem. He shrugged, as casual as discussing the weather. Nothing personal, just business. Rage flooded through me, hot and blinding. 7 years. 7 years of grief and struggle, and this monster dismissed my parents' murders as business. My hand moved toward the gun at my ribs. Dante's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. In warning. Don't, he murmured, so quiet only I could hear. But I want to know, Alexei continued, circling us like a predator. Why Victor gave you that bracelet? That wasn't part of my plan. Victor went rogue, and now he's dead. You killed your own man? I asked. I kill anyone who disobeys me. His eyes glittered with malice. Which brings us to tonight. Dante, you have 2 choices. Sign over your empire, or watch everyone you care about die. There's a 3rd choice, Dante said quietly. Oh? I kill you, rescue my sister, and burn your entire organization to the ground. The temperature in the warehouse dropped 10 degrees. Alexei laughed, but it sounded forced. You're outnumbered, Moretti. My men have guns trained on you right now. You can't. 3 shots rang out in rapid succession. 3 of Alexei's men dropped. Then all hell broke loose. Dante shoved me to the ground, his body covering mine as gunfire erupted around us. I heard shouting in Italian and Russian, the sound of bullets striking concrete, the metallic tang of blood in the air. Stay down, Dante ordered. Then he was gone, moving with lethal precision toward his sister. I pressed myself against a concrete pillar, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might explode. Through the chaos, I saw Dante fighting, not shooting, fighting, his fist connected with a man's jaw. He disarmed another with brutal efficiency, moving like violence personified. Marco and Luca had appeared from somewhere, engaging Alexei's men in close combat. The warehouse had transformed into a war zone, and through it all, Isabella lay crumpled on the ground, unmoving. I couldn't just hide. I couldn't. I broke from cover, running low, toward Isabella. A man spotted me, raised his gun. Dante was there, his knife flashing silver in the spotlight. The man went down. I told you to stay hidden, Dante roared. Help me with her. Together, we grabbed Isabella, dragging her toward the door. She was heavier than she, looked dead weight, and I didn't know if she was unconscious or worse. Behind us, Alexei's voice rose in fury. Kill them! Kill them all! We were almost to the door when I heard it, the distinctive click of a safety being released. I turned. Alexei stood 10 feet away, his gun aimed directly at Dante's back. Time slowed to syrup. I didn't think, didn't plan, just moved. I pulled the Glock from my holster, raised it with shaking hands, and fired. The recoil nearly knocked me backward. The shot went wide, hitting Alexei in the shoulder instead of center mass. But it was enough. He stumbled, and Dante spun, his own gun rising. 3 shots, center mass, professional and cold. Alexei Volkov hit the ground and didn't get up. Dante's eyes found mine across the space, dark and fathomless, and something else. Something that looked like pride. "Run," he said. And this time, I did. Chapter 5. Blood and Confessions. We burst through the warehouse doors into chaos. Dante's men had engaged Alexei's reinforcements in the parking lot, muzzle flashes lighting up the night like deadly fireflies. The sound of gunfire was deafening, punctuated by shouts in multiple languages and the squeal of tires. "Move!" Dante had Isabella slung over his shoulder, one arm around her, the other holding his gun. He fired twice over his shoulder without looking, and somewhere behind us, someone screamed. I ran, my lungs burning, my legs shaking. Marco appeared beside me, providing cover as we sprinted toward the SUV. Bullets sparked off the pavement inches from my feet. This was real. People were dying. I had shot someone. The realization hit me like a freight train, and I stumbled. Dante's free hand caught my arm, hauling me forward. "Don't stop. Don't think. Just run." We reached the SUV, and Luca was already behind the wheel, engine running. Marco yanked open the back door, and Dante practically threw Isabella inside, then pushed me in after her. "Drive!" Dante barked, sliding in beside me. Luca didn't need to be told twice. The SUV lurched forward, tires screaming, as bullets punched through the rear window. Safety glass spiderwebbed but held. I threw myself over Isabella instinctively, shielding her body with mine. She was so still, so pale. Blood matted her hair and stained her clothes, and I couldn't tell where she was injured. "Is she breathing?" Dante demanded, his hands already on his sister, checking for a pulse. I pressed my fingers to her throat, searching. "They're faint, thready, but there." "Yes, barely." "Get us to Dr. Russo, now." Dante's voice was steel, but I heard the tremor beneath it. Fear, raw and human. He cradled Isabella's head in his lap, his fingers gentle as they brushed blood-soaked hair from her face. The contrast between the man who just killed Alexei with cold precision and this man tenderly holding his broken sister was staggering. "Stay with me, Bella," he murmured in Italian. "You don't get to leave me. You hear me? You don't get to leave." My chest constricted painfully. The drive took 15 minutes that felt like hours. We pulled up to a brownstone in an upscale neighborhood, and a man was already waiting on the steps, silver-haired, 60-ish, with the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen everything. "Dr. Russo," I assumed. "Bring her in," he said simply, holding open the door. Dante carried Isabella inside, and I followed, my legs moving on autopilot. The brownstone's interior had been converted into a private medical facility, examination tables, monitors, locked cabinets of supplies, everything a mob doctor would need to treat patients who couldn't go to hospitals. "Put her here." Dr. Russo indicated a table. As Dante laid his sister down, the doctor was already cutting away her clothes, assessing injuries with practiced efficiency. Gunshot wound to the abdomen, 3 weeks old at least. Infected, multiple contusions. Signs of dehydration and starvation. She's septic. "Can you save her?" Dante's voice cracked. On the last word. "I can try. But you need to leave. Let me work." "I'm not, Dante." Dr. Russo's voice was firm. "You're covered in blood. You're a distraction. And you brought a civilian. Get cleaned up. Let me do my job." For a moment, I thought Dante would refuse, but then his hand touched Isabella's cheek once more, feather light, and he nodded. "Save her, Angelo. Whatever it takes. I always do." Dante turned to me, and I saw it then, the cracks in his armor, the grief and rage and fear bleeding through. "Come on." He led me to a bathroom down the hall, flipped on the light, and I saw us both in the mirror for the first time. We looked like we'd walked through hell. Blood spattered Dante's face and neck, soaked into his black tactical gear. My jacket was torn, my hands shaking and stained rust red. Isabella's blood. Alexei's blood. I didn't know anymore. "I killed someone," I whispered. Dante was at the sink, washing blood from his hands. "You saved my life." "I killed someone." My voice was rising, hysteria creeping in. "I shot him. I pulled the trigger and... Sarah." Dante was in front of me suddenly, his clean hands gripping my shoulders. "Look at me. Look at me." I dragged my eyes to his. "You did what you had to do. What you had to do to survive. To protect me. To save Isabella." His thumbs stroked along my collarbones, the touch grounding. That doesn't make you a killer. That makes you a survivor. I can still feel it. The recoil. The sound. His face when, I know. His forehead dropped to mine. His breath warm against my lips. I know. And I'm sorry you had to do that. Sorry you're in this world now. But you saved us, Sarah. You understand? You saved us. The tears came then, hot and unstoppable. I'd been holding them back since the warehouse, since the package, since the moment Dante Moretti walked into my life. Now they broke free like a dam bursting. Dante pulled me against his chest, one hand cradling the back of my head, the other wrapped around my waist. He held me while I sobbed, while I shook, while the adrenaline and terror finally caught up with me. I've got you, he murmured against my hair. I've got you. I didn't know how long we stood there. Eventually my tears slowed, then stopped. I became aware of his heartbeat under my cheek, strong and steady. The heat of his body pressed against mine, the way his hand was stroking slowly up and down my spine. I need to clean up, I said, my voice hoarse. Yeah. But he didn't let go immediately. His arms tightened for just a moment, as if he couldn't quite force himself to release me. Then he stepped back, and the loss of his warmth felt physical. He showed me how to work the shower, found me clean clothes, his clothes, a t-shirt and sweatpants that would be too big but better than blood-soaked denim. Then he left, closing the door quietly behind him. I stripped mechanically, not looking at my reflection, and stepped under water hot enough to burn. I scrubbed until my skin was raw, watching pink-tinged water circle the drain. But I couldn't wash away the memory of pulling that trigger. Couldn't scrub away the sound of Alexei hitting the ground. When I finally emerged, dressed in Dante's clothes that smelled like cedar and danger, I found him waiting in the hallway. He'd cleaned up too, changed into fresh clothes, but his eyes were haunted. How is she? I asked. Angelo's still working. It'll be hours before we know anything. He ran a hand through his damp hair. I should get you back to the house. You need rest. I'm not leaving. The words surprised us both. Not until we know she's okay. Something flickered in his expression, gratitude, maybe, or relief that he wasn't alone in this. Come on then. There's a waiting room upstairs. The waiting room was small and surprisingly comfortable, leather couches, soft lighting, a bookshelf filled with medical texts. Dante collapsed onto one of the couches, suddenly looking exhausted. The weight of the night, of 6 months of searching, of almost losing his sister, crashed down on him all at once. I sat beside him, not touching but close. Tell me about her. Isabella. He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, she's 3 years younger than me. Brilliant. Kind. Too kind for our world, really. My father wanted her to marry into another family, solidify alliances. She refused. Said she'd rather die than be bartered like property. Brave. Stubborn. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Like someone else I know. I'm not brave. I'm terrified. Brave isn't not being afraid. It's being afraid and doing it anyway. His hand found mine, fingers lacing together. You ran toward her tonight. Toward danger. To help. That's bravery, Sarah. Or stupidity. With you, I'm not sure there's a difference. His thumb traced circles on the back of my hand, the touch absent and intimate at once. Thank you. For what you did. For saving my life. You've saved mine multiple times in the past day. That's different. That's my job. My responsibility. He turned to face me fully, his dark eyes searching mine. But you? You didn't have to do any of this. You could have run. Should have run. Instead, you stayed. You fought. You shot a man to protect me. I didn't think. I just reacted. Instinct. His free hand came up, cupping my jaw. Do you know what that means? When your instincts tell you to protect someone instead of yourself? My heart was hammering again, but this time not from fear, from something far more dangerous. What? It means you care. His thumb brushed along my lower lip, and my breath caught. Even though you shouldn't, even though I'm dangerous and this world is poison, you care. Dante, I care too. The admission was raw, pulled from somewhere deep. I shouldn't. You're a complication I can't afford. But I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop wanting to protect you, keep you, make you mine in ways that have nothing to do with that bracelet or my sister or any of this. The air between us crackled with electricity. We were inches apart, his hand on my face, our fingers still intertwined. All I had to do was lean forward, close the distance, give in to the pull I'd been fighting since the moment he grabbed my wrist in that restaurant. "This is insane," I whispered. "I know. We barely know each other." "I know. You're a criminal. I shot someone. Your sister is dying downstairs. Everything about this is wrong." "I know." His forehead touched mine, and his voice dropped to gravel. "Kiss me anyway." It wasn't a command. It was a plea, a question, a confession. "And God help me," I answered it. I closed the distance and pressed my lips to his. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, testing. Then Dante made a sound low in his throat and his hand fisted in my hair, and the kiss turned desperate, hungry. 6 months of grief and 1 night of terror channeled into the slide of lips and tongue, the taste of him coffee and mint and something darker. I shouldn't want this, shouldn't want him, but I did. God, I did. His other hand gripped my hip, pulling me closer. And I went willingly, my hand sliding up his chest to tangle in his hair. The kiss deepened, grew frantic, all the fear and adrenaline transforming into raw need. A door opened somewhere below us. We broke apart, both breathing hard, staring at each other with wide eyes and kiss-swollen lips. Footsteps on the stairs. Doctor. Russo appeared in the doorway, still in his surgical scrubs, exhaustion lining his face. Dante was on his feet instantly. "Angelo?" The doctor's expression was grave. "She's alive, stable. But Dante..." He paused, weighing his words. "She's been through hell. The infection was severe, the psychological trauma. We won't know the extent until she wakes up. If she wakes up, she'll wake up." Dante's voice was iron and desperation. "She has to." Dr. Russo nodded slowly. "You can see her. But only for a few minutes." Dante turned to me, conflict clear on his face, wanting to see his sister, not wanting to leave me. "Go," I said softly. "I'll be here." He hesitated, then bent and pressed a fierce, quick kiss to my forehead. "Don't disappear on me." Then he was gone, following Dr. Russo down the stairs, and I was alone with the ghost of his kiss burning on my lips and the terrifying realization that I was falling for a man who lived in a world of blood and secrets. A world that had just become mine, too. Chapter 6. Walls coming down, I must have dozed off on the couch, because when I opened my eyes, pale morning light was filtering through the windows and Dante was sitting across from me, watching. Not sleeping, just watching, with an intensity that should have made me uncomfortable but instead made warmth pool in my stomach. "How long have you been there?" I asked, my voice still rough with sleep. "A few hours." He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his jaw shadowed with stubble, but there was something lighter in his expression than I'd seen before. "She woke up, for about 10 minutes, knew my name, asked what year it was." Relief crashed through me. "That's good, right? That's really good. Angelo says it's promising. Her vitals are improving. The infection is responding to antibiotics." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "She's going to make it, Sarah. Because of you. Because of us." "No." He stood, crossed to the couch, and sat beside me, close enough that our thighs touched. "Because you were brave enough to run into gunfire, strong enough to do what needed to be done. I've had trained soldiers freeze in moments like that, but you moved." I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to process being called brave by a man who'd killed 3 people last night without hesitation. "What happens now?" I asked instead. Dante's jaw tightened. Now things get complicated. Alexei Volkov is dead. I killed the head of a rival family on what's technically neutral ground. The other families will demand answers. Reparations. There could be war. Can you give them answers? Tell them he kidnapped Isabella, killed Kozlov, targeted me. The truth doesn't matter in our world. Only power. Perception. He scrubbed a hand over his face. "I'll need to call a meeting of the commission. Present evidence. Hope they see Alexei's actions as the provocation they were. And if they don't, then the Moretti family goes to war with half the families in the city." His eyes found mine, dark and troubled. "Which is why I need to get you somewhere safe. Somewhere far from here, with a new identity, protection." "No." He blinked. "No, I'm not running." I turned to face him fully, drawing strength from somewhere I didn't know existed. "You said it yourself. They know about me. They've known about me for 7 years. A new identity won't change that. And besides..." I took a breath. I want justice for my parents. I want to see this through. Sarah, you don't understand what you're saying. If the commission rules against me, if war breaks out, you'll be a target. Every enemy I have will see you as leverage against me. Then teach me. The words came out before I'd fully thought them through, but once said, I knew they were right. Teach me to protect myself, to survive in your world. Because I'm not leaving, Dante. Not now. Not after everything. Something blazed in his eyes, approval mixed with frustration and something hotter, more possessive. You're insane. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just done being a victim. I met his gaze steadily. Someone murdered my parents and let me believe it was an accident. They watched me struggle for 7 years, used me as bait. I'm not running from that. I'm facing it. You could die. I could have died last night. I could die crossing the street tomorrow. At least this way, I'd die fighting. Dante stared at me for a long moment, and I watched the war play out across his face. Finally, he reached out and cupped my jaw, his touch gentle despite the calluses on his palm. You're going to be the death of me, he murmured. Or you'll be the death of me. Not if I have anything to say about it. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. If you stay, if you really want this, then you follow my rules. You train with my people. You go nowhere without guards, and you trust me to keep you safe. I can do that. Can you? He leaned closer, and I could smell coffee on his breath, see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. Can you trust a monster, Sarah? You're not a monster. I've killed more people than I can count. I've ordered executions, tortures, disappearances. I've done things that would give you nightmares. His voice was raw, harsh. I'm exactly what you should be running from. Then why did you spend 6 months searching for your sister? Why do you have a doctor on call to save people instead of dispose of bodies? Why do you look at me like, I stopped, not sure how to finish? Like what? Like I'm something precious. Something you want to protect instead of use. His forehead dropped to mine, and we breathed the same air. Because you are. You're the first thing in a very long time that feels clean, untouched by all the blood and violence, and I want to keep you that way, even though I know being with me will only drag you deeper into the darkness. Maybe I don't want to stay clean. My hands found his chest, feeling his heart thunder beneath my palms. Maybe I want the darkness, if it comes with you. He made a sound half groan, half growl, and then his mouth was on mine. This kiss was different from last night. Less desperate, more deliberate. He took his time, exploring, claiming, pouring 6 months of grief, and 1 night of terror, and something that felt dangerously like hope into the slide of his lips against mine. I opened for him, let him in, gave as good as I got. My fingers curled into his shirt, pulling him closer, needing more. Contact, more heat, more of this thing that burned between us despite every logical reason it shouldn't exist. His hand slid into my hair, angling my head for better access, and I gasped against his mouth. He swallowed the sound, deepened the kiss, his other hand gripping my hip hard enough to leave marks. Good. I wanted his marks. Wanted proof this wasn't a dream born of exhaustion and trauma. A polite cough shattered the moment. We broke apart to find Dr. Russo in the doorway, his expression carefully neutral, but his eyes amused. Sorry to interrupt, he said, not sounding sorry at all. But Isabella is asking for you, Dante, and she wants to meet the woman who saved her life. Dante stood, pulling me up with him, his hand finding mine and not letting go. She shouldn't be talking. She needs rest. She's been resting for 6 months. Right now she needs family. Doctor, Russo's gaze shifted to me, assessing. Both of you. My heart jumped. I'm not family. Aren't you? The doctor smiled slightly. Come. She's weak, but determined. Wonder where she gets that from. We followed him downstairs to a recovery room that looked more like a high-end hospital suite than anything I'd expected. Isabella lay in the bed, impossibly fragile against white sheets, IV lines and monitors tracking her vitals. But her eyes were open, dark and intelligent, so much like her brother's. Bella. Dante's voice cracked on her name. He crossed to the bed, taking her hand with a gentleness that made my chest ache. How do you feel? Like I was shot and tortured for 6 months. Her voice was raspy, weak, but touched with dry humor. How do you think I feel? Like you're going to give me hell for taking so long to find you. That too. Her eyes found mine, curious and knowing. You must be Sarah. I am. I'm so glad you're okay. Angelo tells me you shot Alexei Volkov to save my brother's life. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Thank you. I just reacted. Anyone would. No, they wouldn't have. Isabella's grip tightened on Dante's hand. Most people would have run. You stayed. You fought. That takes courage. And love. I felt my face heat. We're not. She's staying, Dante said simply, his eyes holding his sister's with some unspoken communication. Under my protection. In my home. For as long as she needs. Good. Isabella's gaze moved between us, satisfied. Then we'll have time to become friends. Once I can stand without passing out. Rest now, Dante commanded, his thumb stroking over her knuckles. We'll be here when you wake up. Promise? Promise. Isabella's eyes drifted closed, and within moments, her breathing had evened into sleep. Dante stayed frozen, watching his sister with naked relief and residual fear on his face. She's strong, I whispered. She'll recover. She'll have scars. Physical and psychological. Things Alexei did to her. His jaw clenched. I wish I could kill him again. Slower. I squeezed his free hand, the one not holding his sister's. She's alive. That's what matters. You found her. You saved her. We saved her. He finally looked at me, and the vulnerability in his eyes stole my breath. I couldn't have done this without you, Sarah. You have to know that. Partners, then. Partners. He lifted my hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to my knuckles. In this, and maybe other things too. The promise hung in the air between us, dangerous and intoxicating. Dr. Russo cleared his throat again. She'll sleep for several hours. You both should eat. Rest. The next few days will be demanding. Dante nodded reluctantly, releasing Isabella's hand and standing. You'll call if anything changes? The moment anything changes. We left the recovery room, and as we climbed the stairs back to the waiting area, reality began to settle over me like a heavy cloak. I'd shot a man, kissed a mob boss, committed myself to a world of violence and secrets, and somehow, I didn't regret any of. Dante? I said as we reached the top of the stairs. Yeah? When you said things would get complicated, how complicated are we talking? He pulled me into his arms, holding me close, his chin resting on top of my head. The kind where I have to convince 5 crime families that I was justified in killing Alexei. The kind where his brothers might come for revenge. The kind where every moment we're together puts you in more danger. So, very complicated. Extremely. He pulled back enough to look down at me. Last chance to run, Sarah Castellano. I'll set you up with a new life, protection, money. You'll never have to see me again. I looked into his dark eyes, saw the hope and fear warring there, and knew my answer. I'm not going anywhere. His smile was brilliant and rare, transforming his face from dangerously handsome to absolutely devastating. Then welcome to the family. He kissed me again, soft and sweet and full of promise. And outside the windows, the sun continued to rise over a city that didn't know its underground king had just found something more precious than power. He'd found someone worth protecting, and I'd found someone worth fighting for. Chapter 7. The Commission. 3 days later, I stood in Dante's bedroom, while Rosa helped me into a dress I never would have chosen for myself. It's too much, I protested, staring at my reflection. The dress was burgundy silk, elegant and expensive, cut to emphasize curves I usually hid under oversized sweaters. My hair had been styled in soft waves, my makeup applied with professional precision. I looked like I belonged in Dante's world. The realization was terrifying. Mr. Moretti requested you look the part, Rosa said, adjusting the neckline. Tonight is important. The commission doesn't convene lightly. The commission. 5 families who controlled the city's underworld, meeting to decide whether Dante's killing of Alexei Volkov was justified or an act of war. My stomach had been in knots since he'd told me I needed to attend. Why do I have to be there? I asked. You're the evidence, Rosa interrupted gently. The proof that Alexei targeted an innocent, that he killed your parents years ago and used you as bait. Your presence matters, Miss Castellano. The door opened, and Dante entered, stopping short when he saw me. The look in his eyes made heat flood my body. Leave us, he said to Rosa, not taking his gaze off me. Rosa departed with a knowing smile, and suddenly we were alone. Dante crossed the room slowly, like a predator approaching prey, until he stood close enough that I could feel his body heat. "You're beautiful," he said, his voice rough. "I feel like I'm playing dress-up." "You're not playing anything." His hand settled on my waist, and I felt the possessiveness in his touch. "You're mine tonight, my partner, my witness. And if anyone at that table so much as looks at you wrong, I'll cut out their eyes." "Dante, I mean it, Sarah." His forehead pressed to mine. "These men are dangerous, ruthless. They'll see you as weakness, as leverage against me. But you're not weak. You're the strongest person I know." "I shot one person. You've killed dozens. Killing doesn't make you strong. Killing makes you dangerous." His thumb traced my jaw. "Standing up when you're terrified? Running toward danger instead of away? That's strength. That's you." I wanted to believe him. Wanted to be the woman he saw when he looked at me like this. "What if they vote against you?" I whispered. "What if there's war? Then there's war. And I'll win it." His certainty was absolute. "But tonight, I'm going to make them see the truth. That Alexei was a rabid dog who needed to be put down. And you're going to help me prove it." He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a necklace, a delicate silver chain with a pendant shaped like a crescent moon, studded with tiny diamonds. "This was my mother's," he said quietly. "She wore it to every commission meeting, said it reminded her she was light in a room full of darkness." He lifted the necklace, and I turned so he could fasten it around my neck. His fingers brushed my skin, and I shivered. "Now you wear it, my light in the darkness." The weight of the pendant settled against my collarbone, warm and significant. "I don't deserve this," I said. "You deserve everything." He turned me to face him, his eyes blazing with intensity. "And after tonight, I'm going to start giving it to you." Before I could ask what he meant, he kissed me deep and claiming and full of promise. When we broke apart, I was breathless and flushed, and he looked entirely too satisfied. "Come on," he said, taking my hand. "Time to face the wolves." The meeting was held in a mansion even larger than Dante's, belonging to the Caruso family, the oldest and most powerful of the 5 families. As our SUV pulled through the gates, I counted at least 20 armed men patrolling the grounds. "They're not taking chances," I murmured. "Neither am I." Dante nodded toward the 3 vehicles following us, all filled with his men. "Marco and Luca will stay with you at all times. If anything goes wrong, they get you out first." "What about you?" "I can take care of myself." His hand squeezed mine. "But I need to know you're safe. It's the only way I can think clearly in there." We pulled up to the entrance, and Dante helped me out, his hand never leaving mine. Inside, the mansion was all marble and gold, ostentatious wealth designed to intimidate. It was working. A man in an expensive suit led us through corridors lined with Renaissance art until we reached massive double doors. Beyond them, I heard the low murmur of male voices. "Ready?" Dante asked. "No." "Yes." The doors opened, and we walked into a room that felt more like a courtroom than a meeting space. A long table dominated the center, and seated around it were 4 men who radiated power and danger. These were the heads of the 5 families, and they were all staring at me. Dante's hand tightened on mine as we approached. He pulled out a chair for me, positioned slightly behind and to the right of his own seat, and I sat, hyper-aware of every eye tracking my movements. "Gentlemen," Dante said, his voice carrying authority despite being the youngest man in the room, "thank you for convening on short notice. We didn't have much choice." The speaker was an older man, maybe 70, with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. "You killed Alexei Volkov. That demands explanation." "And I'm here to provide one, Don Caruso." Dante remained standing, commanding the room. "Alexei Volkov kidnapped my sister 6 months ago, tortured her, held her hostage while he systematically tried to destroy my family's operations." "So you claim—" Another man spoke, younger, maybe 50, with a scar bisecting his lip. "Volkov's brothers tell a different story. They say you started a war over a business dispute. Viktor Volkov lies." Dante's voice was cold steel. "And I have proof." He nodded to Marco, who placed a laptop on the table and opened it. Files appeared on the screen, surveillance footage, financial records, intercepted communications. "This," Dante said, pointing to the screen, "shows Alexei's men grabbing Isabella outside the charity gala. This shows them taking her to a warehouse in Volkov territory. And this," his finger stabbed at a financial document, "shows payments Alexei made to the man who killed Sarah's parents 7 years ago." My breath caught. He'd found proof. Real proof. The men around the table leaned forward, studying the evidence. Don Caruso's eyes narrowed. "The girl," he said, looking at me. "Stand up. Let us see you." Dante's jaw clenched, but he nodded to me. I stood on shaking legs, feeling like an animal on display. "Turn around." I did, slowly, hating every second of their scrutiny. "She's nobody," another man said dismissively. "Why would Alexei target her?" "Because," Dante said, his voice dangerous. "Her father discovered Alexei's money laundering operation 7 years ago, threatened to expose him. So Alexei had Marco and Elena Castellano killed and made it look like an accident. Then he waited, watched their daughter struggle, and when he needed leverage against me, he used her." "By giving her a bracelet?" The scarred man sounded skeptical. "By giving her Isabella's bracelet, one of a matched pair I gave my sister. A message that he had her, that he was willing to trade." Dante's hand found my shoulder, grounding me. "Sarah found the bracelet in her coat 3 weeks ago, put there by Viktor Kozlov, who Alexei later killed to eliminate witnesses." "Convenient," Don Caruso murmured. "All your witnesses are dead, except Isabella, who woke up 3 days ago and confirmed everything." Dante pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and a video began to play. Isabella's face appeared, pale but determined. In a voice still weak from her ordeal, she recounted her kidnapping, her captivity, the things Alexei had done. I had to look away, the details too horrifying to process. When the video ended, the room was silent. Finally, Don Caruso spoke. "Your sister lives?" "She does, thanks to Sarah, who shot Alexei when he was about to kill me. Who saved both of us, despite having no training, no obligation, nothing but courage." The Don's eyes settled on me, calculating. "Is this true, girl? You shot Alexei Volkov?" "Yes, sir." My voice came out steadier than I felt. He was going to shoot Dante in the back. I didn't think. I just fired. Brave, or stupid. But there was grudging respect in his tone. "Moretti, your evidence is compelling. But the Volkovs demand retribution. Blood for blood. How do you propose we resolve this?" "The Volkovs can demand all they want. Alexei was a mad dog, and I put him down. If his brothers want war over that, let them come. The Moretti family is ready." The scarred man laughed, but it wasn't. "Friendly. You're ready for war with 3 families? Because that's what you'll get. The Volkovs have alliances. The Sokolovs. The Russos. You'll be fighting on 3 fronts. Then I'll fight on 3 fronts." Dante's voice was absolute conviction. "But I won't apologize for protecting my family, for rescuing my sister, for stopping a man who murdered innocents and thought himself untouchable." Don Caruso studied Dante for a long moment, and I held my breath. "We'll vote," the Don finally said. "Those in favor of Moretti's actions being justified, raise your hand." My heart hammered as I watched. Don Caruso's hand went up, then another man's. A third. 3 of 4. "Motion carries," Don Caruso declared. "Alexei Volkov's death is ruled justified. The Moretti family will face no sanctions." He leaned back, his cold eyes finding Dante. "But understand this, boy, the Volkovs won't accept this ruling. You may have avoided war with us, but you've just started one with them." "I understand. Do you?" The Don's gaze shifted to me. "Because wars consume everything they touch. Everyone. That girl you're protecting? She's a target now. Every Volkov soldier will see her as the woman who killed their boss. They'll come for her." Dante's hand found mine, gripping tight. "Let them try. You've got balls, I'll give you that." Don Caruso stood, and the meeting was clearly over. "Watch your back, Moretti. And watch hers. Because the storm is coming." We were dismissed, and Dante led me out of the room, Marco and Luca falling into step around us. We didn't speak until we were in the SUV, doors closed, pulling away from the Caruso mansion. Then Dante pulled me into his arms and kissed me hard, desperate, relieved. "It's over," I breathed when we broke apart. "No, baby." His eyes were dark with resignation and determination. "It's just beginning." Chapter 8. Fire and Desire. The attack came 2 nights later. I was in Dante's study, reading while he worked at his desk, when the explosion shattered every window on the east side of the mansion. The blast knocked me from my chair, and I hit the floor hard, ears ringing, glass raining down around me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only register chaos and smoke and the acrid smell of burning. Then Dante was there, hauling me up, checking me for injuries with hands that shook despite his controlled expression. "Are you hurt?" His voice seemed to come from underwater. I don't think so." Gunfire erupted outside. Shouts in Italian and Russian. The sound of men dying. "They're here," Dante said, and his face transformed into something terrifying. "Marco, Luca." Both men appeared instantly, weapons drawn, blood on their clothes. "The east perimeter is breached," Marco reported. "At least 20 hostiles, maybe more. They came prepared, boss." "The panic room. Now." Dante grabbed my arm, but I pulled back. "What about you?" "I'm ending this." He pulled a gun from his desk drawer, checked the magazine with practiced efficiency. "But you need to be somewhere safe while I do." "Dante, no. This isn't a discussion." He gripped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. "They came into my home, threatened what's mine. I will burn them all to ash, but I need to know you're protected first." Another explosion rocked the mansion, closer this time. "Go," Dante commanded Marco and Luca. "Get her to the panic room and don't let her out until I come for her myself." "Boss, you need backup." "I have 50 men out there. I need you protecting her." His eyes never left mine. "Please, Sarah, don't fight me on this." The please broke me. I nodded, and relief flashed across his face before the cold mask slammed back into place. "I'll come back," he promised. "I always come back." Then he was gone, moving toward the sound of gunfire with the fluid grace of a man born for violence. Marco and Luca grabbed my arms, practically dragging me through the mansion. We passed bodies some. Dante's men, some intruders in tactical gear. The air was thick with smoke and the copper tang of blood. They shoved me through a hidden door in the wine cellar, down concrete stairs into a reinforced room that looked like it could survive a nuclear blast. Monitors lined one wall, showing camera feeds from around the mansion, showing the war zone it had become. "Stay here," Marco ordered. "Don't open this door for anyone but Mr. Moretti. Understood?" "Wait, where's Isabella? Is she safe?" Dr. Russo evacuated her to a secondary location when the first alarm triggered. "She's secure." He moved toward the door. "We need to get back out there. Lock this behind us." They left, and I locked the heavy door with shaking hands. Then I turned to the monitors, unable to look away from the carnage unfolding above me. Dante moved through the chaos like an avenging angel, his gun finding targets with lethal precision. He didn't hesitate, didn't flinch, just killed with the cold efficiency of a man who'd done this 100 times before. I should have been horrified, should have been terrified of the monster he became in battle. Instead, I was transfixed. He was protecting his home, his people, me. And he was beautiful in his violence. The battle raged for 30 minutes that felt like hours. I watched men fall, watched fire consume parts of the mansion, watched Dante coordinate his soldiers with hand signals and barked orders while never stopping his own assault. Finally, the gunfire slowed, stopped. The monitors showed bodies scattered across the grounds, mostly men in tactical gear. The Volkov soldiers, dead or retreating. Dante's forces had won. I waited, heart hammering, for him to come for me. Minutes stretched into eternity. What if he was hurt? What if a knock on the door? "Sarah, it's me. Open up." Dante's voice, rough and strained. I unlocked the door, and he stumbled inside, blood soaking his shirt. My heart stopped. "You're hurt, not my blood." He locked the door behind him, leaning against it, breathing hard. "Mostly not my blood." "Mostly?" I rushed to him, hands fluttering over his chest, searching for wounds. "Where are you hurt?" Grazed my shoulder. "It's nothing." But he winced when I touched the area, and fresh blood seeped through the fabric. "That's not nothing. Sit down." "Let me, Sarah." He caught my hands, and I saw it in his eyes, the adrenaline, the violence, the razor edge of a man who'd just fought for his life and won. "They're dead. All of them. The Volkovs sent 20 men to kill us, and I sent them back in pieces." His voice was savage, triumphant, terrifying, and God help me, it sent heat flooding through my body. "You're safe now," I whispered. "We're safe now." His hands framed my face, and his eyes blazed with something primal. "But I need you to understand something. This is my world. Violence and blood and wars that never end. And you're in it now, really in it. There's no going back. I don't want to go back. You should. His thumb traced my lips. You should run from me. From this. I'm covered in blood, Sarah. I've killed more people tonight than you can imagine. And all I can think about, all I've been thinking about while fighting for our lives is getting back to you, touching you, making you mine in every way that matters. My breath caught. The air between us crackled with electricity, thick with violence and desire and something deeper, more dangerous. Then stop talking, I said, and do it. Something in him snapped. He kissed me hard, brutal, his mouth claiming mine with a hunger that bordered on desperate. I kissed him back just as fiercely, my hands fisting in his blood-soaked shirt, pulling him closer despite the copper smell, despite everything. This was insane. We were insane. I didn't care. His hands gripped my hips, lifting me, and I wrapped my legs around his waist as he carried me deeper into the panic room. He set me on a metal table, never breaking the kiss. His body pressing against mine in a way that made me gasp. Tell me to stop, he growled against my mouth. Tell me you don't want this. I want this. My hands found his hair, tugging. I want you, he groaned, and his lips moved to my neck, teeth scraping against sensitive skin. You're going to ruin me, Sarah Castellano. Good. I arched into him, feeling his arousal pressed against me, hard and insistent. Ruin me back. His hands found the zipper of my dress, something simple I'd thrown on earlier. Before the world exploded and drew it down slowly, deliberately. The fabric pooled around my waist, and his eyes darkened as he took in the sight of me. Beautiful, he murmured. So damn beautiful. His mouth found mine again, softer this time but no less consuming. His hands explored, mapping every curve, every sensitive spot, learning what made me gasp and arch and beg for more. I tugged at his shirt, needing skin, needing contact. He helped me pull it over his head, and I saw the damage the graze wound on his shoulder, still bleeding sluggishly, the bruises already forming along his ribs, the scars from old wounds marking his skin, evidence of a life lived dangerously, evidence of a survivor. I traced one scar with my finger, and he shuddered. These tell stories, I whispered. Violent stories, ugly stories. Your stories. I pressed my lips to the scar, part of who you are. Sarah. A loud bang on the door made us both freeze. Boss. Marco's voice. Urgent. We've got a situation. The Volkovs left behind a message. You need to see this. Reality crashed back in. Dante rested his forehead against mine for a moment, breathing hard, then stepped back and grabbed his shirt. Duty calls, he said, voice rough with frustration and unfulfilled desire. I slid off the table, pulled up my dress, and tried to calm my racing heart. What kind of message? The kind that means this isn't over. He helped me zip my dress, his fingers lingering on my spine. Come on, whatever this is, we face it together. We emerged from the panic room to find the mansion in ruins. Fire damage, bullet holes, blood-staining expensive marble. Dante's men were already working to secure the perimeter and clean up the carnage. Marco led us to the front entrance, where a group of soldiers stood around something on the ground. They parted as we approached, and I saw it. A body. Or what was left of one. One of the Volkov attackers, I assumed, except this one had been posed. Arms spread, chest carved with letters in rough, angry slashes. What does it say? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. It's in Russian, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. It says, your whore dies next. Ice flooded my veins. They're escalating, Marco said quietly, making it personal, going after her specifically. Let them try. Dante's arm came around my waist, pulling me against him. I'll kill every Volkov who even looks at her. I'll burn their empire to ashes and salt the earth where it stood. Boss, they have numbers, resources, 3 families backing them. I don't care if they have an army. Dante's voice was steel and fury. She's mine. They touch her. They die. Spread the word. Anyone who harms Sarah Castellano answers to me. And my answer will be biblical. The message was clear, absolute, terrifying in its conviction. And it made something deep inside me crack open. He meant it. Every word. He would go to war for me, die for me, kill for me. And I realized, standing in the ruins of his mansion with a dead man at our feet and a target on my back, that I would do the same for him. Somewhere between the bracelet and the warehouse and the kiss and the violence, I'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Dante Moretti. And that was more dangerous than any Volkov assassin. "Take me upstairs," I said quietly. Dante's eyes found mine, questioning. The panic room was interrupted. "I want to finish what we started, before the next attack. Before something else tears us apart." I cupped his jaw, feeling stubble rasp against my palm. "I want one night where it's just us. No families, no war, just you and me." His expression softened, and he bent to kiss me tender and sweet and full of promise. "One night," he agreed, "and then tomorrow, we end this war." He swept me into his arms, carrying me past the damage, and the bodies, and the evidence of violence, up the stairs to his bedroom, the one room that had somehow survived the assault untouched. He kicked the door closed behind us, and for one night, we forgot about the Volkovs and the blood and the danger. For one night, we were just Sarah and Dante, two people who'd found something precious in the darkness, and refused to let it go. Chapter 9. Surrender. Dante set me down gently in his bedroom, and for a moment, we just stared at each other in the dim light filtering through the curtains. The sounds of cleanup continued below, men shouting orders, debris being cleared, the mansion being secured. But up here, in this room, the world narrowed to just us. "Are you sure?" Dante asked, his voice rough. "Once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters. I'm already yours." The truth of it settled over me like a blanket. "I think I have been since you grabbed my wrist in that restaurant and looked at me like I was the answer to a question you'd been asking for months." His hand cupped my face, thumb stroking my cheekbone. "You were. You are. The moment I saw that bracelet on your wrist, everything shifted. I thought I was looking for my sister. Turns out I was looking for you too." He kissed me then, slow and deep, pouring emotion into every slide of lips and tongue. This wasn't the desperate hunger from the panic room. This was reverence, worship, a promise made flesh. My hands found his shoulders, traced the lines of muscle and scar tissue, felt him shudder under my touch. He was so strong, so lethal, yet he trembled when I touched him like I was something precious he was afraid to break. "I won't break," I whispered against his mouth. "I know." His hands found the zipper of my dress again, drawing it down with agonizing slowness. "But I want to savor this. Savor you. In case, don't." I pressed my fingers to his lips. "Don't think about tomorrow or the Volkovs or anything except right now." He nodded and helped me step out of the dress. I stood before him in just my underwear, feeling vulnerable and powerful all at once under his dark gaze. "God, you're beautiful," he breathed. "How did I get this lucky?" "Lucky?" I laughed shakily. "We're in the middle of a war. Your mansion is destroyed. There's a price on my head, and I would burn down the entire world to keep you safe." His hand spanned my waist, pulling me close. "That makes me the luckiest man alive, Sarah, because for the first time in my life, I have something worth protecting beyond power or territory or family legacy. I have you." Tears pricked my eyes. "I love you." The words slipped out before I could stop them, raw and honest and terrifying. Dante went completely still. "What?" "I love you," I said again, stronger now. "I know it's insane. We've only known each other a week, but I love you, Dante. The man who searched for his sister for 6 months. The man who protected me from the start. The man who looks at me like I'm his entire world. I love all of you, even the dangerous parts. Especially the dangerous parts." For a moment he just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then he kissed me with such intensity that my knees buckled, and he had to catch me. "I love you too," he said against my lips. "So much it terrifies me. So much I'd kill anyone who tried to take you from me. So much that when those Volkov soldiers stormed my home tonight, all I could think was that I had to survive. Had to get back to you, because losing you would destroy me worse than any bullet." He lifted me in his arms and carried me to the bed, laying me down on silk sheets like I was something sacred. Then he stood back, drinking in the sight of me with eyes gone molten with desire. "Your turn," I said, my voice husky. He stripped efficiently, boots, pants, everything until he stood before me naked and unashamed. My breath caught at the sight of him. All lean muscle and controlled power, marked by violence but somehow still beautiful. He climbed onto the bed, caging me in with his arms, his body hovering over mine. "Last chance to change your mind." "I'm not changing my mind." I pulled him down, relishing his weight, his heat, the feel of skin against skin. Make me yours, Dante. Completely. What followed was slow and deliberate and achingly tender. He took his time, learning every inch of my body, finding every place that made me gasp and arch and beg. His hands and mouth were everywhere, building heat until I thought I might combust. Please, I finally whimpered. Dante, please. I've got you, he promised. I've got you, baby. When he finally moved inside me, it was perfect and overwhelming and right in a way I'd never experienced. We moved together, finding rhythm, building something between us that felt bigger than just physical pleasure. This was connection, trust, love made tangible. He braced himself above me, his eyes locked on mine, and I saw everything there. His love, his fear, his desperate need to protect and possess and cherish all at once. Mine, he growled as pleasure built higher. Say it. Yours, I gasped. Always yours. The orgasm crashed through me like a tidal wave, and I cried out his name, clutching him like an anchor. He followed seconds later, my name a prayer on his lips, his body shuddering against mine. After, we lay tangled together, hearts racing, breath slowly evening out. Dante pulled me against his chest, his arms wrapped around me like he could shield me from the world through sheer will. Stay with me, he murmured into my hair. Not just tonight, forever. Be my partner, my equal, my wife? I finished, half joking. Eventually, his arms tightened. When this is over, when the Volkovs are dealt with and you're safe, I'll ask you properly. Ring, proposal, the whole thing. And you'll say yes because you're already mine and we both know it. I tilted my head to look at him and found him serious. Completely serious. That's very presumptuous. Mr. Moretti. That's very accurate, Miss Castellano. He kissed my forehead. You're stuck with me now. For better or worse. Worse being active war zones and assassination attempts, and better being nights like this, mornings waking up next to you, building a life together once the violence finally ends. Will it ever end? I asked quietly. The violence? For us? I'll make sure it does. His voice was steel and promise. I'll burn down every threat to you until all that's left is peace. However long it takes. Whatever it costs. I believed him. That was the terrifying part. I believed he would do exactly that. We drifted into sleep, still tangled together, and for a few precious hours, we forgot about the Volkovs and the war and the target on my back. Dawn broke too soon, pale light filtering through the curtains. I woke to find Dante already awake, watching me with an expression that made my heart clench. You're staring, I murmured, memorizing. His fingers traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. In case. Don't finish that sentence. I pressed closer to him. We're both going to survive this. We have to. I'll make sure you do. Even if Dante Moretti, if you're about to suggest some noble sacrifice where you die protecting me, I will kill you myself. I rose on one elbow to glare at him. We survive this together or not at all. Understood? A smile tugged at his lips. Bossy. You love it. I love you. He pulled me down for a kiss. Every stubborn, brave, impossible part of you. A knock at the door shattered the moment. Boss. Marco's voice. Urgent. We've got incoming intel. You need to hear this. Dante sighed, pressing one more kiss to my lips before rolling out of bed. Duty calls. We dressed quickly, him in fresh clothes, me borrowing his shirt and a pair of his sweatpants that I had to roll at the waist. When we emerged, Marco's expression was grim. What is it? Dante asked. Our contacts in the Volkov organization just sent word. They're planning something big. Tomorrow night. A coordinated strike against every Moretti property simultaneously. They're not just coming for you anymore, boss. They're coming for everything. Ice flooded my veins. How many men? Over 100. Maybe more. They've called in favors from their allied families. This is total war. Dante's jaw clenched. Let them come. We'll be ready. Boss, even with our forces, those numbers. Then we even the odds. Dante turned to me, conflict clear in his eyes. I need to make some calls. Rally our allies. Prepare defenses. What do you need me to do? I asked. Stay safe. That's all. Just stay. No. I stepped forward, squaring my shoulders. You said I was your partner. Your equal. Partners don't sit on the sidelines during the final battle. Sarah, teach me to shoot properly. Let me help coordinate with Isabella. She's recovering. She can manage communications from a secure location. Put me to work, Dante. Don't lock me away like I'm helpless." He stared at me for a long moment, and I watched him wage an internal war between his need to protect and his respect for my strength. Finally, he nodded. "Okay, but you follow orders. You stay in protected positions. And if I say run, you run. Deal?" "Deal." He pulled me close, pressing a fierce kiss to my forehead. "Then let's end this war." The next 24 hours were a blur of preparation. Dante called in every favor, rallied every ally, transformed what remained of his mansion into a fortress. Weapons were distributed, defensive positions established, evacuation routes planned. Isabella, still weak but determined, coordinated from Dr. Russo's secure facility, managing communications and gathering intelligence. I spent hours with Luca learning to shoot properly, my hands steadying with each round fired at the practice range. "You're a natural," Luca said, impressed. "Most people flinch. You don't. I already killed one person. Might as well get good at it." The dark humor masked the fear churning in my gut. Tomorrow night, the Volkovs would come with everything they had, and we would either survive or die together. As the sun set on what might be our last night, Dante found me on the balcony overlooking the grounds. His arms came around me from behind, and I leaned into his strength. "Scared?" he asked quietly. "Terrified." "Me too." "Really?" I turned in his arms to look at him. "You seem so calm." "I'm good at pretending." His hand cupped my face. "But the truth is, I'm more scared than I've ever been, because I have something to lose now. You. Then we better not lose." I rose on tiptoes to kiss him. "Because I have plans for our future, Mr. Moretti, and they involve growing old together, not dying in some stupid gang war." He smiled against my lips. "Stupid gang war?" "Very stupid, but we'll win anyway." "How can you be so sure?" "Because we have something they don't." "What's that?" "Each other. And love." I pressed my hand over his heart, feeling it beat strong and steady. Love makes us stronger than fear, stronger than numbers, stronger than anything they can throw at us. He kissed me then, deep and desperate and full of promise. When we broke apart, his eyes blazed with determination. "Tomorrow, we end this," he said. "And then we start our real life together. Deal?" "Deal." We stood there on the balcony, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the sun set on the eve of battle. Tomorrow would bring violence and blood and danger. But tonight, we had love. And somehow, that felt like enough. Chapter 10. The Final Stand. They came at midnight. I stood in the mansion's reinforced command center, watching monitors as vehicles approached from 3 directions, sleek black SUVs and unmarked vans, a convoy of death heading straight for us. "Here we go," Dante murmured beside me, his hand finding mine and squeezing once. "Remember, you stay here with Marco. Coordinate communications. Keep the channels open." I remember, my gun felt heavy at my hip, a reminder that if things went wrong, I'd have to use it again. "You remember to come back to me. Always." He pulled me close, kissing me hard and fast. "I love you, Sarah Castellano. When this is over, we're getting out of the city, taking Isabella somewhere safe, building a real life. I'm holding you to that." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then he was gone, moving to join his men at the front lines, leaving me with Marco and a wall of screens showing the approaching storm. "They're splitting up," Marco said, pointing to the monitors. 30 men to the east entrance, another group flanking west, the rest coming straight up the main drive. Classic pincer movement. I grabbed the radio. Team 3, reinforce the west perimeter. Team 5, hold the east gate. Do not let them breach. Acknowledgements crackled back, and I watched as Dante's soldiers moved into position. 50 men against over 100. The numbers weren't in our favor, but we had defensive positions, home advantage, and Dante Moretti fighting like a man with everything to lose. The first shots rang out, shattering the night. I watched on the monitors as muzzle flashes lit up the darkness, as men fell on both sides, as the carefully manicured grounds transformed into a battlefield. Dante was everywhere, directing his forces, firing with lethal precision, moving like violence personified. "Eastgate is holding," Marco reported. "But West Side is taking heavy fire. They've brought RPGs." My blood ran cold. "Evacuate Team 3 back, to secondary positions. Now." The order went out seconds before an explosion rocked the west wall, blowing a hole through reinforced concrete. Volkov's soldiers poured through the breach like ants, and suddenly they were inside the perimeter. "Dante, west wall is breached," I shouted into the radio. "They're in the gardens." "Copy that. Redirecting." His voice was eerily calm despite the chaos. "Marco, take Sarah to the panic room." "No," I said firmly. "I'm more useful here. I can see everything, coordinate better than anyone in the field. Sarah, trust me." I was already calling out new orders, redirecting teams, watching the tactical situation unfold. Team 2, flank left. Cut off their advance before they reach the main house. Team 4, covering fire from the north balcony. For a moment, silence on the radio. Then Dante's voice, rough with emotion. "You're incredible. And when this is over, I'm never letting you go. You better not." I watched him on the monitors, saw him take down 3 men with brutal efficiency. "Now focus. You've got incoming from your 6. He spun, fired, and another Volkov soldier dropped. The battle raged for 30 brutal minutes. We lost men, good men who'd sworn loyalty to the Moretti family. But the Volkovs lost more. Dante's defensive strategy was working, funneling them into kill zones, whittling down their numbers. Then everything changed. "Boss," Luca's voice crackled through, urgent and terrified. "We've got a problem. Viktor Volkov is here. Alexei's brother. And he's not alone. He's got static drowned out the rest." "Luca? Luca, respond." Nothing but dead air. On the monitors, I saw them. A new wave of vehicles. These ones armored and professional. Not street soldiers, but trained mercenaries. At least 40 of them, moving with military precision. And leading them was a man who looked like Alexei's ghost. Same sharp features, same cold eyes, but older. Harder. Viktor Volkov. And he was heading straight for the main entrance where Dante was positioned. "Dante, fall back," I screamed into the radio. "It's a trap. They wanted you at the front so Viktor could come for you personally. Fall back now." But it was too late. Viktor's mercenaries hit Dante's position like a hammer, overwhelming through sheer force and training. I watched in horror as Dante's men were forced back, as the line collapsed, as Viktor and 6 mercenaries breached the mansion's main entrance. "Marco, we need to move," I said, my hand already on my gun. "Miss Castellano," the boss said. "The boss is about to die if we don't help him." I was already moving toward the door. "You can come with me or stay here. Your choice." Marco cursed in Italian but followed, his weapon raised. We moved through the mansion, following the sounds of gunfire deeper into the house. Bodies littered the hallways, Volkov soldiers mostly, but some of ours too. The air stank of cordite and blood. A gunshot, close. Then Dante's voice raised in fury. "You want me, Viktor? Here I am. Let's finish this." I rounded the corner to find them in the main foyer, Dante and Viktor circling each other like wolves, their men forming a ring around them. Dante was bleeding from a cut above his eye, favoring his left side. Viktor looked fresh, untouched, confident. "Your brother was a rabid dog," Dante said, his voice carrying through the space. "I put him down like he deserved. My brother was family." Viktor's accent was thicker than Alexei's, his rage barely contained. "And you killed him, disrespected our name. For that, you die. But first, I'll make you watch as I kill everyone you love." His eyes found me, and his smile was a razor blade. "Starting with your whore," he raised his gun, aiming at my chest. Time slowed to syrup. Dante screamed my name, moving, but too far away, too slow. Marco shoved me aside, his body blocking mine. The gunshot was deafening. Marco crumpled, blood blooming across his chest. "No!" The word tore from my throat. As I caught him, his weight dragging us both down. "Miss Castellano." Blood bubbled at his lips. "Protect the boss." Then his eyes went vacant, and Marco, loyal, brave Marco, was gone. Rage exploded through me, white-hot and consuming. I raised my gun, no longer shaking, no longer afraid. I'd killed once to save Dante. I'd kill again. I fired. The bullet caught Viktor in the shoulder, spinning him. Not a kill shot, but enough to stop him. Dante didn't waste the opportunity. He closed the distance in 3 strides, disarmed Viktor with brutal efficiency, and pressed his gun to the man's temple. "This is for Marco," Dante said. "For Isabella. For Sarah's parents. For every innocent life your family destroyed." He pulled the trigger. Viktor Volkov hit the marble floor and didn't get up. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the remaining Volkov mercenaries, seeing their leader dead, began to retreat. Dante's men pursued, but the fight had gone out of the enemy. Without Viktor, they were just hired guns with no one to pay them. The battle was over. We'd won. But the cost. I knelt beside Marco's body, tears streaming down my face. I'm sorry. God, Marco, I'm so sorry. Dante's arms came around me, pulling me up, holding me while I sobbed. Around us, his men were securing the mansion, tending to wounded, counting losses. He saved me, I choked out. He died for me. He died doing his duty, protecting family. Dante's voice was rough with grief. He died a hero, Sarah. We'll honor him, remember him, make sure his sacrifice meant something. I clung to him, this man I loved, in the ruins of his home surrounded by bodies and blood and the cost of survival. It's over, I whispered. It's really over. Yeah, baby, it's over. He pressed his lips to my forehead, and I felt him trembling. The Volkovs are finished. Their allies will scatter now that both brothers are dead. We won. Why doesn't it feel like winning? Because winning in this world always costs something. He pulled back to look at me, cupping my face with blood-stained hands. But we're alive, together. And that's all that matters. Luca appeared, injured but mobile, his expression grave. Boss, we've got final counts. We lost 8 men, including Marco. 23 wounded, but we held. They lost over 70, including Viktor. The rest fled. Dante nodded, his face a mask of controlled grief. Get the wounded to Dr. Russo. Secure the perimeter. I want full guard rotations until we're certain they're not coming back. Yes, sir. Luca hesitated. And Marco's body? Prepare him for a proper funeral. Full honors. Dante's jaw clenched. He died protecting what I love most. We'll make sure everyone knows that. As Luca left to carry out orders, Dante turned back to me. In his eyes, I saw exhaustion, grief, relief, and love all tangled together. I need to check on Isabella, he said. Make sure the secondary location wasn't compromised. Will you come with me? Of course. We left the mansion together, stepping over debris and bodies, walking through the wreckage of the life Dante had built. The SUV was bullet-riddled but functional, and as we drove through the gates, I looked back at the mansion scarred, burning in places, but still standing. Like us. Damaged but not broken. At Dr. Russo's facility, Isabella was safe, furious she hadn't been able to fight, and tearful when she learned about Marco. She hugged me tight, this woman I barely knew but who felt like family now. Thank you, she whispered, for saving him, for being brave enough to stand with us. He saved me first, I said. Your brother saved me. No. Isabella pulled back, her dark eyes so like Dante's knowing and kind. You saved each other. 3 days later, we buried Marco and the 7 others who'd fallen defending the Moretti family. The funeral was massive, attended by hundreds of family members, soldiers, allies, and rivals paying respects. Dante gave the eulogy, his voice strong despite the grief etched into every line of his face. He spoke of loyalty, sacrifice, and the bonds that made men family beyond blood. When it was over, when the last prayer was said and the mourners dispersed, Dante took my hand and led me away from the cemetery to a quiet park overlooking the city. I'm done, he said quietly. I looked at him, confused. Done? With this life. The violence, the wars, the endless cycle of blood and revenge. He turned to face me, taking both my hands in his. I've spent my whole life in this world, Sarah. But you've shown me there's something better. Something worth living for instead of just surviving. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm stepping down. Giving control of the family businesses to my underboss. Legitimate operations only, no more trafficking, no more violence. And Isabella and I are leaving the city. Starting over somewhere clean. He cupped my face, his eyes searching mine. Come with me. Build a real life with me. Away from all this. My heart soared and broke at the same time. What about your empire? Everything you've built? Means nothing without you. His thumb brushed my lips. I'd burn it all down for one more day with you, Sarah. For a chance at a normal life. A future without looking over our shoulders. Where would we go? Anywhere you want. California, Italy, Colorado. Somewhere quiet where we can heal. Where we can just be Sarah and Dante, not the mob boss and his. What are you exactly? I smiled through tears. Well, you mentioned something about a proposal. His eyes lit up, and he dropped to one knee right there in the park, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, a diamond that caught the sunlight and threw rainbows. Sarah Castellano, you walked into my life wearing my sister's bracelet and turned my entire world upside down. You're brave and stubborn and impossibly kind despite everything you've been through. You've seen the worst of me and loved me anyway. Will you marry me? Build a life with me? Give me a chance to be the man you deserve? I pulled him to his feet and kissed him, pouring everything I felt into it, love and hope and the promise of tomorrow. Yes, I said against his lips. Yes to all of it. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. Like it was always meant to be there. Like I was always meant to be his. We stood in that park, holding each other, watching the sun set over a city we were about to leave behind. A city full of violence and memories, but also where we'd found each other. I love you, I whispered. I love you too. He pressed his forehead to mine. And I promise you, our life together is going to be extraordinary. No more darkness. Just light. I believed him. And 6 months later, standing on a beach in California, with Isabella as my maid of honor, and Luca as Dante's best man, I married the man who'd once been a mafia boss, and was now just mine. The waitress and the criminal. The hunted and the hunter. The darkness and the light. We'd survived the impossible, conquered the odds, and built something beautiful from the ashes of violence. And as Dante kissed me under a sunset sky, I knew with absolute certainty, this was just the beginning of our forever.